Yep.
Because I think that, first of all, the reason I like to think this way when it comes to any obstacle in real estate or business is because it places me on offense, not defense. So when so many people are thinking defensively about the interest rates, because the interest rates are raising, that's out of your control. Unless somebody's out there that's raising these, please call me. I want to have a conversation. But if you're out there, but we can't control if the interest rates go up or not. So I want you to switch to an offensive mindset of, okay, so it's raising. Is there benefit to be able to leverage? Every good real estate investor asks that question. Or if you're investing in stocks or businesses or whatever, doesn't matter what you're investing in, everybody's asking with economic times, the ones that have offensive mindset, no matter what the economic turbulence is at the time, the question is, well, how do I leverage this for revenue?
Hey, what's going on, Cash Flow Hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and I am back here again with my buddy Mike Fritz from Power Up Real Estate. And today we're going to be talking about something that's probably a bit counter to what a lot of people are talking about, because look around the world, gas prices, Costco lists. You know, I went to Costco the other day. It was over $500 for.
You didn't buy a car or anything?
No, no. And it was literally like, because I got 3 kids, and I normally spend between $350 and $400, and I buy the same thing every time, and
it's just a bigger bill, not like, for no more product.
Exactly. Yeah. It was insane. Yeah. And so I'm like, whoa, this inflation thing's getting real, you know?
And they usually charge me the same amount just to go through their sample aisle.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I usually have dinner there once a week.
Perfect. So like there's all this stuff out there about the negatives of inflation and all these things going on. So we thought it'd be fun to do a video and talk about the 4 benefits of inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So interest rates are going up.
Yep.
They're going northeast. Everybody knows that. Man, you know, interest rates went from 3 to 4 or 4.5, and if maybe you're investing, it could be in the mid 5s.
Yep.
But are there some benefits in interest rates rising like that? And I think there are. There's actually 4 benefits that Chris and I are going to talk about.
Yep.
Because I think that, first of all, the reason I like to think this way when it comes to any obstacle in real estate or business is because it places me on offense, not defense. So when so many people are thinking defensively about the interest rates, because the interest rates are raising, that's out of your control. Unless somebody's out there that's raising these, please call me. I want to have a conversation. But if you're out there, but we can't control if the interest rates go up or not. So I want you to switch to an offensive mindset of, okay, so it's raising. Is there benefit to be able to leverage? Every good real estate investor asks that question. Or if you're investing in stocks or businesses or whatever, doesn't matter what you're investing in, everybody's asking with economic times, the ones that have offensive mindset, no matter what the economic turbulence is at the time, the question is, well, how do I leverage this for revenue?
Yep, exactly.
You know?
Totally. And so really, like, with, I guess, just kind of an addition to that is I always tell people, if you want to really create wealth, you have to come at this not from this buy and hold mentality of getting invested in stocks and mutual funds and all these things. You have to be what I would call more of an opportunistic investor.
Totally,
right?
100%.
And when you're an opportunistic investor, you're waiting for times just like this. You're waiting for these market swings. You know, we always go through these boom bust cycles, right? And so it's when the bust happens where most people make their wealth.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because that's where the most opportunity exists. And so the rest of the time, yeah, you want to make money, you want to do your thing, and there's always opportunity, but the opportunities are best during that small window, because
absolutely,
whatever length of time it takes for the market to boom, it takes about 1/10 of the time to bust.
Exactly.
And so
exactly. And what this is what economic turbulence, what Chris just said, creates the most millionaires. 2008, 2009 created more real estate millionaires. It was the biggest transfer of wealth in my lifetime. Guess what the now #1 biggest transfer of wealth was? It was COVID. COVID transferred more wealth than any other time in history. So when turbulence happens, the question is just how. It's not, oh, what now? Let's not stay defensive. Let's get on the offense.
Absolutely. So how do we position ourselves for that is really what this is all about. So for this video now, to kind of bring it back around, what we're going to do is talk about the 4 benefits of inflation. And ultimately, we'll probably sidetrack, because it's just what we do. We riff on this stuff, and we're going to get all over the place.
Absolutely.
But talking about, I guess, #1, getting right into it, the value of the dollar, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So to understand the benefits of inflation, you really have to understand how economics work and how what I would say Keynesian economics work,
totally,
right?
Totally.
And so to understand inflation, you have to really understand the fact that how inflation works. So the idea of Keynesian economics, and I'm going to get really nerdy on you for a second here. So
That's what we do.
The idea of Keynesian economics is when the economy is really good, or inflation is getting out of control, they have to rise interest rates because the Federal Reserve has the ability to print money, get more money into the circulation. And so what happens when they reduce interest rates, that's what's happening is they're reducing the cost of stuff, so they're putting more money in circulation. And so when they do that, typically inflation will eventually rise.
Yep.
And when inflation rises, the philosophy, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, but the philosophy is that the economy is doing well, right?
Exactly.
And historically speaking, that's the way it's been. That's kind of what's baked into the system as far as assumptions go.
Yep.
And so when the economy's doing well, now they can increase interest rates, and when they increase interest rates, they pull money out of circulation, and so that will curb inflation, right? That's the idea.
That's
so
the
I think
idea.
it's important to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about anytime something is, think about you go to the dollar store. You buy something for $1, it's cheaper, so it's worth less money, right? You go to the hardware store and you buy a high-end tool, and you got the same tool at the dollar store. What's going to cost you more? So the idea is when money costs more to get, it strengthens its value. So it's interesting. A dollar is an interesting thing. A dollar really is just a unit of energy, right? And so we trade things for things in return. Well, when it takes more of those things to get the same thing, we call that inflation. So when the government raises those interest rates, it makes it harder to borrow money. It strengthens that dollar. And the cool thing that does is it brings foreign exchange money, and it brings foreign currencies into the country, because when our dollar starts to strengthen and be harder to get, people come and bring their money here because they can generate money. Now, a lot of things dictate foreign currency exchange.
Yeah.
There's a lot. But rising interest rates are one of them. So one of the benefits of rising interest rates is that it strengthens the dollar. And I'll tell you, there's one thing, the number one thing that weakens the American dollar is money printing, right? So, think about it. If there's 2 Ferraris and that's the only thing that's in circulation of those 2 Ferraris, how expensive are they? A lot. Well, if there's 5 million of them, how expensive are they? Well, it's the idea when the government prints money and throws a bunch more into the system, what does it do to the dollar? There's more of them, so what are they? It's less valuable. And so that's why rising interest rates, as Chris said, it sucks money out. It makes less of them. So there's less of them in circulation, meaning it's worth more money.
Well, so you say benefit one is the value of the dollar goes up.
Value.
And so here's an important thing to understand for everybody who, I know I have a lot of people that subscribe to this channel that are more Austrian, economic driven mindset.
Yeah,
and so
sure.
the idea of money printing and all this kind of freaks people out. And
like,
everybody's worried about what's going on. But here's the deal. Yes, we're printing a lot of money.
Yep.
Yes, I believe it's completely irresponsible. And yes, I think it's going to turn its head and bite us at some point in time.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, every country in the world is printing money and doing all these things and acting irresponsibly. And so what's key to understand is because of the Bretton Woods Act in 1944, we are the world's reserve currency.
Yep.
And we can be irresponsible. The rest of the world kind of follows our lead. And whether it's fair or not, we benefit from it.
Absolutely.
And in 2009, when we had the crash, a lot of people don't realize this, but the best asset during that crash was holding the dollar.
It was because the dollar came back.
Totally.
Exactly. And one of the things you just said was when the value of the dollar, when printing is irresponsible, 100%. They throw a bunch of money in, and then it changes the value of the dollar. But think back to 08, 09.
Yep.
Right now, every government's printing money because they've got to, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's value of the dollar's gone up, meaning a lot of times what makes our dollar strong is comparative. It means it compares to global money, which dictates our strength.
Totally.
So when everybody's printing, the value of the dollar doesn't take as big of a hit. In 08, 09, we printed $800 billion to bail out the banks, and nobody else was printing money. For the first time in years, we became even with the Canadian dollar. Actually, I think Canada might have even went up above us a little bit, but we were pretty much dead even with the Canadian dollar in just after 08, 09.
No, they went above us.
Did they go above?
Yeah,
I thought they did.
Than us for
they were a little bit better than us, and so that hasn't happened in my lifetime. I think that was the only time that happened.
It's come back.
It's come back. Yeah, we're about 75 cents on our dollar. They're 75. Yeah, they're 5 cents on our dollar.
Yeah.
But my point in saying that is back then, nobody else was printing. We did, so we leveled out. Now everybody's printing.
Yeah.
So by sucking the interest rates up, it pulls money out of circulation. Because you understand, economic growth happens on the trade of money. So when money is trading, that's what drives up the economy. When there's less dollars to trade, it makes each transaction worth more money.
Yep. So that's amazing. So here's the deal. The second thing, and because we're talking about all this stuff,
and you mentioned this earlier.
and I alluded to it, but I think it requires a little bit of a deeper dive. When you raise interest rates, it tames inflation. So
yes. That's the second benefit.
That's the second benefit, because let's face it, nobody wants inflation the way that we're experiencing it, right?
No.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to pay $6 a gallon for gas to go in my Jeep that gets 9 miles a gallon with 36-inch tires on it.
I know.
Like, I'm not down with that. Like, I don't need that. So
so true.
Even if you can, nobody wants it, right?
Exactly.
Like, and so here's the deal. When it comes to the inflation side of things, this is also I'm really torn on this right now. Because of where we are in the economy. So we need to raise interest rates. So
we do.
And I'm a big believer history has a habit of repeating itself. And I think one of the greatest economic heroes our country has ever seen is a gentleman named Paul Volcker, who was the chairman of the Federal Reserve back in 1979, 1980. And during that time, a lot of people don't realize this, but in December of 1979, Paul Volcker raised the federal funds rate from 6% to 19% almost overnight.
He changed it to a credit card economy. That's like credit card interest rates, dude.
Think about this. Can you imagine a 13% bump in the federal funds rate in a month? Month. Like, we're freaking out over a 25 basis point jump right now. And the markets are like going all over the map.
3 years ago, we were loaning high. We were getting at 6 and 7, and we were happy about it.
Totally. And so here's the challenge, though, where we lie, is that we have Jerome Powell talking about raising interest rates and doing 6 incremental jumps over the next 18 months or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doing it systematically, evaluating the economy, whatever. But if you understand how inflation works, if we have 8% inflation, which, by the way, we do, which is, which, by the way, if you use the calculations of inflation from 1979, we're at about 16% inflation today.
Yeah, I
which
know.
is insane.
It's insane. It's a lot.
They've manipulated the numbers. That's another conversation. But just let's use their kind of deflated inflation numbers, right, at 8%. If we're utilizing that number and the federal funds rate and the cost of money is at 0.5%, you can't slow down inflation until the cost of money is higher than inflation. It needs to slow that down.
It has to.
And so this is where I'm telling everybody, strap in.
Yeah,
it's going to get real.
It's going to get real. But here's the thing. This is why stop playing defense.
Yes.
You can't play defense on this. Stop being fearful and get strategized. Get strategy. That's why Chris and I are doing this.
Totally.
Because I want you to become a strategist, not a theorist.
Totally.
And so becoming fear-based. Because we experienced some amazing economic times in the 90s. Why? Was it because of those raised rates? It probably was.
In the 80s.
That's my point. And so he raises interest rates. My parents talk about the early 80s when they were getting loans at 17, 18% for a home. And it was just insane. Most of you buying homes today don't even know that kind of rate. Some of you may remember that. But my point in saying that is raising interest rates it's what's going to make the end of the 2020s and 2030s a solid economy. We have to do that to level out our dollar value.
And this is totally. And this is my encouragement to everybody. You may feel like you don't have enough. You may feel like you're not ready. You may feel what I tell you right now, and this is totally off topic, or it's on topic, a little off track of the 4 things, but it's get ready, because you got to position yourself as an opportunistic investor. And the thing you need to do that right now is get rid of your toxic debt, your variable toxic debt that is going to suffocate your cash flow.
Your consumer debt.
Get that out of there. Exactly. Eliminate that. And then save money. Put money aside. And if you need help with that, reach out to us. We can help you. But the bottom line is you need to save up what I would call a personal reserve to be prepared for the opportunity that's going to present itself. Because when this swing happens, and it's going to happen, listen, if the Federal Reserve doesn't want to do it, then we're going to have an inflationary depression. That's just going to be what happens, because cost of living is going to get so high, nobody's going to be able to afford anything. The economy is going to suffer because of that. We'll go into a depression for that, and it'll take care of itself eventually. Or we're going to do what's right, and we're going to have a little bit of deflation, and we're going to control things, and we'll come back around. One way or the other, this thing is going to sort itself out.
It is. And I just think that we have to pause and say, again, raising interest rates, I actually think it's one of the things that we have to do to level out the economy. Because if it continues to be low and we create massive buyer frenzy, easy money to get, low end 800 homes for
Yep.
every 200,000 buyers,
Yep.
then we're going to continue to drive these prices through the moon, and then you'll see an even worse scenario. I believe.
And cheap money is like a drug for the economy.
It is.
It's a drug for the economy. It's a drug for for all of us when it comes for the people that are utilizing it, and it's addicting, right?
Yeah,
and so when you look at it
point.
when you look at it like that, if you take a heroin addict, right, and you try to get them off of the drug, there's going to be pain for them to go through. And when they get through that pain, they're going to be 10 times, they're going to infinitely better off, right?
Absolutely.
And so
absolutely,
if you look at 1980, when Volcker raised those rates, it was a horrible year,
oh
right?
my gosh, people were
it was horrible.
freaked out.
But then what did we have? The booming 80s.
We had a huge
right?
spike. Right?
There's a name for it, the booming 80s. Why was that? Because we took the pain, we took our medicine, we did what we needed to do, and then we were able to thrive. And so
yeah, that's so good, dude.
Just get ready, just prepare. And the way you need to do it, and just understand this isn't a bad thing. It'll tame inflation when we raise rates. There will be what we would call deflation or austerity, or there's a lot of things that will happen that will kind of shrink the economy. But the good news is when you do that, if you save and you're opportunistically saving and not investing, you're keeping your money accessible, liquid, in guaranteed accounts that you can't lose, that you're just sitting back and you're waiting. And imagine when this happens that you could look at it and you could be excited about it rather than scared about it.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
And I love these economic turbulent times are never fun to go through. But Ray Dalio, one of the most brilliant financialists in the world right now, he said, strong times create weak people, and weak people create weak times. And then he said, weak times create strong people, and strong people create strong times. So walking through this economic turbulence and understanding the way financial works, it creates you into a better investor, a more aware person with your own finances, whether you're trying to be investors full time like Chris and I do, or whether you're just trying to make sure you're managing your 401k to make sure you have enough for retirement. No matter what side of the financial piece you're on, you want to understand that this economic turbulence creates strength that you'll need in the future.
Totally.
Right.
No, that's it. So as you can tell, we're both kind of passionate about this topic. So we could I could literally do an hour video just on that.
I love talking about this stuff so much.
I mean, totally. So okay, so that was the second thing. So the third reason.
The third thing is when interest rates go up and banks are going to make more money off loaning you money, they get more creative with the amount of programs they have for lending. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll lower the down payment so you're able to get into a loan for less money out of pocket. Now that loan is going to cost you more money to get. And at the end of the video, we'll give a couple things of how you can prep for this. We have a couple things we'll give how to prep for this. But that's one of them, is that the banks are going to create more creative loan programs. So a lot of times, I mean, think about it. If they're going to make 8% rather than 2.5%, they're going to want to get that money into the hands of people.
Totally.
So they're going to create more creative programs to get the money into your hands.
And so here's the fourth, and that was it. I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, that's amazing. So the fourth thing is that seller financing.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So in the early 80s, Chris was talking about those skyrocketed interest rates. People bought on seller financing all the time. So maybe you don't have a lot of money in the bank. Rising interest rates, when people are going to sell their home, they often start thinking about seller financing where they actually become the bank, where you don't have to go to a bank. So they might either match the interest rate and you don't have to come up with big down payments. And so seller financing has a rebirth in higher interest rates. So when interest rates are at 2.5%, there's nobody doing seller financing. Why would they? They can sell it cheap and get all that money right away. But when interest rates are really high, it's a little harder maybe to get a loan. Maybe people can't afford that. Then people start revisiting that. So seller financing could have a rebirth depending on how high the interest rates actually land. So that's good news. That's a really, really good thing to have that. Those are the 4 reasons I think that there's some benefits in raising interest rates. But what do you actually do about it? Well, Chris and I have talked about this again. Become a strategist. Don't play defense. Get on offense. Get on offense and start becoming. See, I don't think you ever stop investing in real estate, ever. You just change your strategy. So there's 2 things I want you to do quickly. If you're buying a personal home, I want you to evaluate that payment and be very real. If you were going to buy a $500,000 home, and with these higher interest rates, come down a little bit. Make sure that you're safe. Come down to a $450,000 or $425,000 home so that you can afford that home. 08, 09 happened because people got overextended on adjustable loans that kicked their rear, and don't do that. So make sure you adjust the size of home you're buying. If you're an investor, make sure it still cash flows. So with these rising interest rates, don't allow a seller to say, well, don't allow a seller to just hold their guns and I'm selling it at this price and the numbers don't work and you just hope it works out. Walk away from the deal if the number doesn't cash flow with these higher interest rates.
Yeah.
So again, you're buying a home, lower the price. If you're buying an investment property, make sure it still cash flows.
100%. So if you're looking to figure out how do you save, where do you save? Because I know a lot of people maybe have something, maybe you have not much, maybe you're just kind of trying to eliminate your consumer debt, maybe you're trying to come up with a plan on, okay, what are the best types of account, because I don't want to save money in a savings account because I'm losing money to inflation. So yeah. I mean, that's what happens.
Happens.
Inflation punishes saving. That's what it does.
Well, because you go to Costco and you get the same product for $400 as you're now getting for $500. That's a $100 difference in his financial line, right?
Right. And that's why I always tell people, like, the biggest, I think, issue, one of the biggest reasons people struggle with money in this country, in this world, is not because they don't invest early enough or this or that. It's because their financial structure and their financial literacy and stewardship is out of whack. And
that's so true.
If you don't set your financial life up for long-term success and you don't have systems in place and rules in place for you to do the stuff that we're talking about, then you're always going to struggle, and you're never going to have a filter to run these decisions through and be able to do what we're talking about, to be able to look for opportunity, to be able to identify opportunity, to be able to capitalize and take advantage of that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And so, it really comes down to that is the most important part. And I always kind of, when I talk to clients one-to-one, I always ask them, like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right?
What's the second best time?
Yeah, yesterday. Now.
Start today.
It doesn't matter how you feel about where you are, no matter, and Mike can speak to this, I can speak to this, no matter where you are right now, if you start implementing a plan and you work with somebody who's been there, done that, and works with real estate, works on the financial side, and has a team and a community and all this stuff, you can get where you want to go. And I know it's really hard for most people to see this, because we live in this country, at least in the United States, I don't know about the rest of the world, but at least here in the US, we've been programmed to think that retirement is this thing that we have to wait for in our 60s.
Oh my goodness.
We've been programmed to think that it's going to take 35, 45 years to be able to get there. What if I told you could get there in the next decade, right? You probably are going, that sounds too good to be true, Chris. You don't understand my financial situation. You don't, like, whatever. I'm telling you, it's possible.
It absolutely is. And people have gotten there less with right mindsets.
Totally.
I mean, in any economic time when you see inflation or interest rates rising, or you're thinking, oh man, what do I do? Focus on earning, cut excess expenses. There's no reason to have a cable bill that you don't watch and that doesn't add value to your life. Cut out the junk expenses and focus on the income you make. And then, as Chris just said, focus on what you're doing with that income. This is the time, if you're an employee and you're working for a company and you can't really change your wage, this is the time to figure out a side hustle to start. That you can make an extra $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month and invest that into something that generates you some money. This is the time to do that more than any other time.
100%. So guys, I hope you found value in that. If you did, make sure you hit that subscription button, click the bell. That way you get notified every time we launch a new video. Mike's going to be on the channel a lot. And also, I got a link down in the description below. Go check out Mike. He's got a YouTube channel that's fantastic, that's growing. And go check him out. Follow him. Tons of great information on his channel as well. And as always, leave a comment in the comment section below. Good, bad, questions, whatever. We do a good job trying to engage with every single comment that gets left there. If I see it, I reply. And that's it. Have a blessed, inspirational day. See you guys.